The Bad Son is the third episode of Season 8 of Frasier. This is directed by Sheldon Epps, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. It's quite a good episode. There are some really moving moments. There is one scene in particular that really stands out to me as being just so, so beautiful. And there are two moments where, yeah, I cried. I knew it was coming. I knew what was going to happen. I've seen this before, but it's rather emotional. It actually starts off on a bus. Frasier is getting on a bus with Roz because there's a problem with his car, and he tries to bribe the driver to stop somewhere that isn't on the bus's route. Clearly this is not something Frasier is used to, which is no surprise to anybody. And then he tries to hit on somebody. He sees an attractive woman on the bus. It doesn't go according to plan, and we'll come back to that in a second. We're then at Frasier's apartment. Niles comes over to see Daphne. He no longer has to have an excuse. He's no longer there to see somebody else secretly wanting to look at Daphne. He comes over with the sole intention of seeing Daphne. And it's just so sweet. And then Frasier comes home frustrated from the bus journey. And he's so irritable. And then he gets into an argument with Martin, as Martin thinks Frasier never wants to spend any time with him. He'd invited him to a basketball game, and Frasier doesn't want to go, which, yeah, fair enough. Martin probably should have realised Frasier wouldn't want to go. But I think Martin has a point. Frasier doesn't really spend time with him outside of the house because they have very different interests. But after Frasier talks with Niles, Frasier has a good idea. Well, no, Frasier thinks it's a good idea. I think it's a terrible idea, but it plays out in a way that's, well, funny at times, but also very emotional. Because Frasier learned on the bus the name of the woman he was trying to flirt with and where she worked. So it just so happens that she works at a retirement home. So Frasier decides that he will go to the basketball game with Martin, but will also, and to quote Frasier, use him to meet a pretty girl. Because he will take Martin to the retirement home to pretend to just inquire about it in case Martin wants to move there, so that he can meet the woman from the bus. And that's what happens. We arrive there at the retirement home. Frasier is there to see Miranda, and they end up looking at applications and they get a tour of the place. Martin's getting annoyed by this because they're going to miss the basketball game, but obviously Frasier wants to stay there for a bit to meet Miranda and, I guess, work up the courage to ask her out. But then Martin bumps into a character called Lee from McGinty's. And, well, Lee said something that I guess was funny, but kind of also not. Because Frasier told Lee that they were just there to do a favour for Frasier. Because obviously by this point, Frasier had told Martin what was actually happening. And Lee responded, "They told me I was going to the Space Needle." Which, yes, it's funny. But it's also kind of heartbreaking to think you have to trick your loved one into visiting a retirement home. It was a tough moment because it was funny and heartbreaking at the same time. And Frasier does it. He asks Miranda out on a date. Initially, she thinks Frasier is talking about having dinner at the retirement home, and then she realises, and she agrees. Part of me thinks she agrees just because it was otherwise an awkward situation, but Frasier's happy enough. And we go back to Frasier's apartment. Frasier's getting ready for the date, and Niles comes over with a picnic basket. It's so sweet. It's because he and Daphne are going to watch the meteor shower, and Miranda's then there, and Frasier introduces her. And I love this moment. This was a really great moment. Frasier introduces Daphne as Niles' lady friend. Now, I'll be honest, I don't like the term lady friend. I think that's a little bit strange. But this might be the first time where he's not introduced Daphne as Martin's healthcare worker. I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but I think that's the first time where Frasier's introduced her not as Martin's healthcare worker. And I think that that's a really significant moment, and it's clear that it meant a lot to Daphne as well, and I thought it was really, really sweet. And Frasier and Miranda are talking, and Frasier happens to say, I don't think my father is ready to move in yet. I did wonder how he was going to get past that lie, but yeah, just saying he's not ready was fair enough. And this is the first of the two moments where I'm getting emotional thinking about it, where it's genuinely a difficult moment, because she says, oh, but he filled in an application today. And Frasier responds, application, my father, today. And he was genuinely shocked to hear it. And of course, that immediately makes us as viewers think, does Martin want to move out? Is he genuinely considering this? And I think the interesting thing as well is that hearing that affected Frasier more than I think Frasier thought it would have affected him. I don't think until he was faced with the prospect of Martin moving out, I don't think he realised how much having his father there actually means to him. And I think it was quite an important moment, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. We're then up on the roof with Niles and Daphne that are going to watch the meteor shower. And they're bringing out the picnic food, and Daphne has brought something up as well. And Niles holds the tray. And he was just so dejected and sorrowful when he went, oh, broken bits of pottery. Like, he sounded so devastating that some pottery had been broken. And of course, it's Daphne's peanut brittle. I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. And Niles tries the peanut brittle, which, yeah, I have to say, my teeth hurt just listening to it. And the wind picks up. Niles throws the peanut brittle away, pretending the wind took it away. And a second later, a car alarm goes off in the distance, because presumably the rock-solid peanut brittle has landed on the car. It's a fabulous scene. It's really, really brilliant. And then Niles goes down the stairs. Daphne moves the block that's holding the door open to hold the picnic blanket down. And the door shuts. And the door at the bottom of the stairs is locked. Daphne has the key. Niles is stuck. And the top door is shut. It's stuck. It won't open. Daphne's stuck on the roof. Niles is stuck on the stairs. Daphne's alright, she's fine. She's got the food. Niles begins to panic. And we'll come back to that in a moment. And then we have Frasier going down to the retirement home, where Martin's actually playing poker. And that's one of the reasons why I thought maybe he was filling out the form, because he realised that there were like-minded people there. He could play poker with Lee and other people, and Frasier probably has the same thought, so he goes down to speak with him, and he apologises for the whole retirement home thing. And he says to him, I hate it. It's wonderful, though. He says to him, I'm not ready for you to leave. Please, Dad, come home. It's so beautiful. And I think, in my opinion, that is the first time, certainly the first time in a long time, where Frasier has really realised just what Martin means to him. And it's it's funny, considering he killed him off in Cheers. If you're unaware, Frasier told the gang at Cheers that his father was no more. So when Martin appeared, when Frasier moved to Seattle, yeah, we have to just kind of pretend that didn't happen. But certainly it's quite amusing in that regard. But it is a very, very emotional scene. And it turns out Martin only filled out the applications because that's the only way he was allowed to play poker. I guess you had to be either a resident or a prospective resident to be able to stay there and play poker, which is a believable explanation. I believe it. It makes sense. It gives us a bit of comedy there because it got quite heavy for a bit, and I thought it was rather great. We're then back up on the roof with Daphne, with Niles, trying to break the door down, and then Daphne sees a meteor, and she says to Niles, I wish you could see this. And Niles responds, so do I, my love. So naturally, and it's the first time he's called Daphne a pet name, and it sounded believable, sounded natural. Daphne likes it, Niles likes it, and it's just such a beautiful, heartwarming moment between them. And then we end with the rough rescue, and everything's absolutely fine. It's a beautiful episode. There are certainly some funny moments. There are some very moving, emotional moments, and I honestly can't fault it. I think that The Bad Son is beautiful. I think it's very thought-provoking. I think anybody of any age, but certainly adults with older parents who might be getting close to that age where maybe they're going to go into a retirement home or assisted living, are you spending enough time with them? Are you there for them the way they want you to be? Because it's very clear that Martin wants to spend time with Frasier. It would be different if he didn't. If he didn't care, fair enough. but he clearly does care about spending time with his son, and Frasier is not aware of Martin's emotions. And then Frasier has to realise maybe he wasn't aware of his own emotions and how he really felt about Martin being there and the value of spending time with him. And I think there are some, getting emotional, I think there are some really, really beautiful messages in this and some really wonderful moments between Frasier and Martin. The character he killed off in Cheers, it's wonderful. I don't mind it either. I don't care that it was a massive, well, I guess a small, well, arguably massive, arguably tiny plot hole that doesn't make any sense, but I don't care about the inconsistency because Martin's fabulous and I'm glad we have him as a character. And I think Frasier's realising that he's glad to have him in his apartment. The Bad Son is a brilliant episode. Definitely a fabulous episode of Frasier.